you don't know Efrat. Efrat is an organization that helps pregnant women in need. It started in Israel in 1977, so over 40 years of experience in doing it. And hot from the press, 88,000 women we just hit last week that were saved. 88,000 women and baby that were supported. So it's really an accomplishment. We started the operation here in the United States about 1.5 years ago. So we're copying the services that we're doing in Israel here. Hi there. Thank you for joining us. So we have like a 2-minute video about Efrat, so it will explain much better than I do what we do and what the organization does, and then we'll jump into the program.
Agudat Efrat is home. They'll be there for you in any way you need. Efrat was actually founded by a Holocaust survivor.
Okay, so we'll give it a minute and hopefully it'll load because I'm having like a little bit of connectivity issues. So we'll give it a second and hopefully it will resume.
Founded by a Holocaust survivor.
Elise, I don't know if it's gonna go.
It's okay. You can. They're gonna get stuck with me, and I can explain it. Go ahead.
Stop the share.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. So I can't see anybody, but it's okay. Oh, here we go. So Efrat, yes, it was founded by a Holocaust survivor who thought that it was very important that for continuity or so that we save babies. But Dr. Schussheim actually took control of it in 1977. Dr. Schussheim was a surgeon, and it was an issue that was very dear to his...
You need to let me move my hands, Ari.
Sorry? It was an issue that was dear to his heart, you know, saving babies. So we, again, like I said before, in Israel, over 40 years with 88,000 women and babies supported. How we support them is we pair the pregnant lady with a volunteer. In Israel, we have over 150 volunteers that are located all over Israel and culturally from different backgrounds. So from secular to Orthodox to different backgrounds and all over Israel, so that we can match the woman, the pregnant woman, to the volunteer as best as we can. And the volunteers support the journey of the pregnancy. Yes, and then we help with financial as well by giving baby supplies to the family, to the woman when the baby is born. And that includes like a crib and a mattress and sheets and a stroller and a baby bath and all the necessities or so. Okay, so this is Efrat in a nutshell in what we do. And we are so thrilled that Rebekah Saltzman is joining us today and agreed to give this wonderful Zoom about organization. Rebekah is a professional organizer, author, speaker, and home organizational and time management coach. She was featured in Nefesh B'Nefesh, Hadassah, Jerusalem Post, Israel News, Talk Jewish Life, and much more. And we're absolutely grateful that, again, that you woke up so early in the morning, because she's in Israel, to give this talk for us. Yeah, so without further ado, it's your floor. Thank you, Rebekah.
Thanks so much for hosting me, Iris. I'm glad to be here. This is like not my usual talk, so I'm really excited to have a new talk to talk to everybody about. Tonight's topic is getting your kids ready to go back to school. If you could just drop in the chat exactly the ages of your kids, so that I know what exactly we're working with here, that would be great. Tonight, we're gonna go over how to clear out your kids' closet to get ready, how to get their school supplies ready, how to get kids back on their schedules, how to make them declutter and organize with you and manage their time with you, and how to help them wind down a little bit and get back on schedule. Okay, so we have 16, 13, 9, and 6, 10, 8, 7, 5, 3, 2. Okay, that's a big range. Okay, great. So we have like a medium-sized range. I have two 16-year-olds too, an 18-year-old going back to school. So with you, I have a little bit more independence there already, but yeah, 7, 5, 3 and 5 months. Okay, great. So we have like a good a mix of kids here. So if you have a specific question about a specific age group, please let me know. And I'll try to get into what is age appropriate for each age level of child. If you don't already know me, hi, I'm Rebekah Saltzman. I'm the author of Organized Jewish Life. I wrote that book after my mom passed away when I just didn't know how to organize sitting Shiva for myself because I was in Israel and she and the rest of my family was in America. And I always thought that I would have the shared experience of sitting Shiva with my family. And of course I didn't. So I didn't know actually what to do in practice, even though I did in theory. So I wrote this book for people who don't really know all the time what to do or when to do it. And there's checklists and tips and tricks on exactly how to get your Jewish home organized. The book is divided into 3 sections. The first section is about Shabbat and Jewish holidays. The second section is Jewish life cycles event. And the third section is just how in general to set up your Jewish home. Like Iris said, I live in Israel with my husband and my 3 kids. We live in Haifa. Thank God, all's quiet for now. And actually, next week, I'm celebrating my 10th Aliyah anniversary. So I'm running a special on my Decluttering online organizing group for $10 sessions, which my assistant Marcy can post a little bit about in the chat. If you're interested in any of those sessions, you can let us know. And I'll explain a little bit more about them as we get into the talk. So I just want to jump right in here. Let's talk about how we can get our kids ready for school. What is the best way? Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. And as I go through each section, I'll look at the questions and I'll do my best to answer them as best as I can. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is you're not gonna wanna wait till the last minute to get back to school situated. And there's a couple of things that you can do with your kids now, even, depends on where kids are starting school, or what days kids are starting school. Here in Israel, they start September 1st. But what you want to do is start as early as possible. This is not something that you want to leave till the last minute. Early preparation is always going to be our friend because we never know what situation we're going to be in closer to the date. So the earlier that we can prepare things, the better off we're going to be. So now as we're winding down on the summer, I mean, it seems weird, we're already at August 8th, so we're winding down a little bit, you know, we have less than a month left till back to school, at least here in Israel. Some places in the Midwest, they're already starting school next week. So it depends where you are, but school's starting. So we want to really be prepared. So the first thing that I recommend everybody starts to do is let's figure out the clothes situation. Now, if your kid wears a uniform to school, that's going to be a little bit easier to manage because there's going to be less categories to need to buy new of because it's more straightforward. You buy your uniform top and your uniform bottom, maybe some new socks, some new shoes, and you're good to go. But now is the time to actually go ahead and clear out your children's closets so that we can get rid of anything that's not fitting them and figure out what is going to fit moving forward and how we can manage so that getting dressed every morning to go to school is not going to be a big deal. One thing that my youngest child used to do was he didn't like to have to get up any earlier. So he would actually sleep in his clothes. I know a lot of moms who do that. It seems really weird, but like whatever he was going to wear the next day, he just wore it to bed and then he rolled out of bed, put on his sneakers, and he was good to go. That's a great time-saving hack. If in the morning your kids are like, man, I don't want to get up, mommy. Oh, I don't want to go to school. I'm not ready. That's a really good way to make sure that kids, you know, are out the door on time. Anyway, what you want to do up front now is start to work with your kids to clear out their closets. You want to go category by category and determine what is in good enough condition to keep, what no longer fits them, either needs to be passed down to the next child, and that means that you need to clearly label it and put it away. And what is not suitable. You also want to determine what you need to purchase, and you want to purchase things now. Even if you don't get all the purchasing done right now, at least if you create a list of all the things you need, you know, Shalom needs 3 shirts, a new pair of sneakers, and a pair of, you know, nicer shoes to wear to school, right? Then great. Now it's also a great time as you're cleaning out the closet to look at the Yom Tov and Shabbat wardrobes so that we can see if there's anything missing in those categories. And while you're shopping, you could see if you can also get things in those categories as well, which will be helpful because even though the Chagim are late this year, usually they coincide more with back to school. And so you don't want to have to be running to the mall 1,000 times. Do the shopping all at once with the one kid and you'll save yourself some energy. At this, depending on the age of the children, you're gonna wanna give your kids autonomy and encourage them to do the decluttering with you. Let them let you know what fits them, what doesn't fit them, what feels good, what they will wear, what they won't wear, and listen to them, you know? You want to hear what they say. Believe them when they say they won't wear it. Now, if they say, I'm not going to wear those pants, and there's 5 pairs of pants and they say that on each one, then yes, use your discretion and pick out 1 or 2 pairs that you think that they will wear, worst case scenario, but then definitely get them some new clothes so you have enough. How many you have, it depends on how often you're willing to do laundry. Let's be real. If you have 3 kids or more, which everybody so far does, you're probably doing laundry every day or at least every other day. Having a week's worth of clothes is sufficient. If you really want to have 10 days worth, that's okay. But anything more than that becomes very difficult for kids to be able to maintain in their closets in an organized way on their own. So limiting what you have in the clothing line is very, very essential to help keeping kids organized. It's super, super important to helping kids get organized because when you limit what they are able to access, it makes it easier for them to control the environment, which allows them to keep it tidy. Even if they're not the ones initiating the tidiness, they can maintain some level of tidiness, especially if they're over 5 years old. That's already when they can start to initiate or maintain a little bit if you've already set it up for them. But when they have so much that every time they pull out a shirt, the whole stack falls on them, then everything is going to be a balagan. It's going to be chaos in their closet. So we don't want chaos in their closet. We want them to be able to pick what they want without making a giant mess and then move on. And the best way to do that, like I said, is to really just limit the amount of stuff that they have. Now, children under 5 could probably give you 10 minutes of time to organize with them. But even so, even if you're going to be the most, you know, prevalent decision maker in this scenario, it's really important to get them involved and go through the things that you're really not sure about, because this flexes and strengthens their executive functioning muscle. If you struggle with organization, the best thing you can do is do these tasks with your children. First of all, it will help you stay on track. But second of all, it will allow your kids to understand what the decluttering process is. So by including them, even for a limited time, even if every day you only do 1 session, you say, come on, Moshe, you know, we're going to sort through our shirts today and you're going to tell me which ones you like and which ones you don't like and which ones don't fit you and which ones do fit you. And we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes and we're going to do it. And then tomorrow we'll do the pants and then the socks and then et cetera, right? That's for children who are under 5. 10, 15 minutes maximum. For children who are 10, under 10, between 5 and 10, I would say 15 to 25 minutes is what you can expect to work on them with. You might be able to get 2 categories in. What I will say to you is, in order to maximize the time, you might want to do some pre-sorting work so that all you have to do is hold up the garment to your child and be like, keep or toss, right? And then all they can do, they can make that decision lickety split, and it becomes easier for them to move forward. So if you do the pre-sorting, you'll get actually a better experience for everyone all around. Children up to 15, I would say 25 to 45 minutes, and 15 plus, maximum an hour. You might be able to get a little bit more time, but what I find with I have 2 16-year-olds and an 18-year-old. What I find with my kids, I have 2 boys and a girl. So when I'm working with my boys, we work together. And what I do is I give each boy, you know, they're working independently and I'm helping one, and then I move to the other and I move back and forth between them. And this way I'm there if they're unsure, but they're actually making the decisions at this age. If your kids at any age are having trouble making decisions, that's normal if you haven't practiced with them. So use this as an opportunity to practice with them and really get them in the habit of decluttering. If they've never done it before, saying to them, you know, clean your room or go declutter your shoes, it's not a helpful directive to give to them because they don't really understand what that means. Imagine you walk into a room and you're like, this room is a mess and everything is all over the floor, and you take one look at it and you're like, I don't know where to start. So you walk in, you look around, I don't know where to start. You say to yourself, I'm not doing this right now. And you walk out and you close the door, right? That's what kids are doing too. We think that saying clean your room is a clear directive, but it's actually not. So if you've never decluttered with your kids before, you're going to want to take time to do this with them so that they understand the process. If in addition to the clothing that you need or that you need to sort, their room is also untidy, now is a great time to go through and declutter anything that is not wanted anymore and move them forward. But again, you're going to have to do that. So for example, with my kids, my boys, my youngest son is actually much more organized than my oldest son, and my oldest son likes stuff. He's always, you know, the thrill of shopping is really a thrill for him. My younger one, not so much. He manages his stuff better. But if I say to them, guys, can you straighten up your room? They're like, I don't know. Unless I'm sitting there with them, they sometimes can't always do it. So what I like to do with them is I start like in one corner and I work myself around with them, and we just go through sort of everything that's out, put it where it goes. And then once it's where it goes, then we can take a second pass at it and determine if we need everything that is in that location in the room. But because we're going sort of around the room, moving our way from, you know, one part of the floor to the next part of the floor, or from the bookshelf to the desk, back to the bookshelf that's on the other side, like we're going in a sort of order that they can understand. That's really helpful to them. But it's important, especially if you've never instituted any sort of cleanup with them before, that at the beginning, you don't just say, clean up your room. You say, guys, we need to sort and declutter the clothes, pick up all the toys and put them away, and make sure that the floor is clean. When they understand the list, even if they can't execute it, that formula helps them understand what needs to get done and how we're going to do it, right? So the more clear you can be about what you expect, the easier it's going to be not only to get to the goal, but for them to understand how to get to the goal. And it also helps them understand how to manage situations in general. When you can explain to your kids, like, step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this, step 4 is that, then it's very clear to them. If you have children who have auditory processing issues, you might even want to write it down, post the list on a Post-it note, and stick it to the wall so you can check off what's happening as you finish it. And that gives them an extra understanding of exactly what's happening. Okay, does anybody have any questions? No questions yet. Okay, great. That means I'm doing a great job. Okay, so the first step is clear out your kids' closet. So you want to work separately with each kid, depending on how old they are. You're going to respect their time constraints and understand, you know, what their limitations are. You're going to get everything organized into categories before you even start with them so that you can breeze through the categories more quickly. You're going to keep a list of all the things that you need to buy to satisfy their needs for the upcoming school year or the upcoming Shabbat and Jewish holidays. You're going to discard anything that is no longer suitable. Just a side note, depending on where you live, if you have clothing that is not suitable for donation, meaning it's not in good condition, you don't have to throw it away. You can actually put it in its own bag, mark it rags, and take it to most donation spots as well. They will also recycle it, which is much better for everything than having it end up in the landfill. If you're saving things between children, this is not school related, but it's an important point to bring up, especially since we have such a variety of age ranges amongst children here. If you're saving things between children, it's important to not save, number one, more than you need, to only save things that are in really, really good condition, and to also only save things that you think your kids will use. So for example, my oldest son really loves to wear jeans, but my young son can't stand the feeling of jeans. And because of that, I never saved any jeans between children. Can you just make sure that you're muted, everybody, please, so that we don't have any feedback on the call? Thank you. So you want to really make sure that you know, you're not saving anything that nobody's going to use. The other thing is make sure everything is clean before you put it away, especially if you're saving things for quite a bit of time. For some people here, we have gaps in between the kids where stuff could be sitting in a garage or a basement for an extended amount of time. And if the stains weren't totally clean, they will resurface. And a lot of times when people unpack clothes from the child before, they see that, you know, in fact, a lot of things had stains on that they didn't remember having. So if it's not really in pristine condition now, it's really not worth saving. The other thing that's not worth saving for a long time is anything with the elastic. Elastic tends to deteriorate over time, and then, you know, the pants don't stay up. So don't save things if the elastic is already not in good condition. Like if this is a third child it's going through and you're seeing it's already starting to get, you know, stretched out, yalla, bye, send it away. Let's go recycle it. It's time to move on. Okay, let's move on to talking about school supplies. And again, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. I promise I will get to them. If you save school supplies between you know, one school year and the beginning of the next school year, please put a 1 in the chat. Let me know what you're saving, what you're not saving. At the end of each year, and obviously this is not useful for this year, but for future years, this is helpful. I like to clear out my kids' school supplies. We put aside whatever notebooks they will need for next year. Wow, that's amazing. No one saves school supplies from year to year. That's really shocking. If you do, yes, I know that school supplies are cheap in the United States. That's true. But it's more about teaching our kids to reuse whatever we can, and just to get the most mileage out and not to waste. So my kids always have like at least 5 notebooks that have barely been used. We put those away. They use them again next year. I put away their pens and pencils, their pencil cases. I wash their backpacks. If their pencil cases or lunch boxes need to be washed, those are things that are getting washed and then put away for the summer. And then, you know, they're ready to go in the fall when we're ready to pull them out. So for the future, you know, at the end of the year, make sure you do like a ceremonial emptying of the school bags, throw out all the papers that you don't need, or recycle all the papers that you no longer need, you know, that they've been accumulating all year. Get rid of anything that is really not serving you. Go through the pens and the paper and see what's reusable, and put it aside in a way that is easy for them to get to if they need something at any point. Now, school supplies are a hotbed of issue because some moms are like, well, I need to store like all of staples in my house so that, you know, so that I can have whatever I need when I need it and I don't need to run out at the last minute. There is a certain comfort in storing some extra things, and I won't lie to you and say that I don't have anything extra in the house. You know, if I see that a pack of pens is, you know, 10 pack instead of 3 pack, then maybe I will buy the 10 pack because, you know, they lose the pens, right? But the point is I don't need 50. So it's within moderation. How much you have, I find that most people very, very grossly overbuy, especially school supplies, anticipating that they'll need things again. But then the next year, a different teacher wants something different. And they've held on to all these things that they don't really need anymore. And then they have a surplus of things that they don't need. And it's not useful to hold on to things that aren't serving you. Okay, so let's see. We have I do save most school supplies, writing utensils, etc. And they're kept in good condition. Okay, great. So though, if you are saving things, they should be in a designated place where if anybody needs them, you or your kids can easily access them. But also the benefit of saving all of the like items together is that you will clearly see what you have. And so if it's not there in that area, you'll know like, oh, this is something that I need. If there are no glue sticks there, you're gonna know, well, I don't have any glue sticks, right? Perfect. You have one shelf for school supplies. I love that. Perfect. Perfect. I only save what was never used or in really good conditions. Perfect. Great. Okay, that's fine. If you were saving, now's the time to take like a fast inventory of what you have so that when you're doing back to school shopping, again, you don't overbuy. So take a quick look at what you have versus the school lists. The earlier you can get the school lists, the better off you'll be. Start shopping for the things that you need earlier. This way you will avoid last minute rush. I mean, I remember standing it's not like such a big thing anymore, but I imagine sometimes there are still the last minute school runs because now we have Amazon and delivery, right? We can get things quickly, but sometimes you still need to run to the store. And I remember the first night of school was always like the lines were so long and you're standing there and you're like, oh, I don't want to stand here. But I have to say, I even remember this today, the feeling of brand new school supplies gives you so much hope for the year. So it's exciting to get your kids school supplies and start out fresh. I totally get that. But you want to be able to get as much as you need before school starts so that you're not rushing and you have time to pace yourself. And if you're a sales shopper, you can watch for the sales, but waiting till the last minute is like a little bit stressful. So get whatever you can in advance. And as soon as you get the school lists, definitely start to shop and look around. Okay. The next thing that we want to do with the school supplies is we want to set them up. You know, let's get everything labeled. Let's get the school supplies into their backpacks. Let's manage the situation now so that, you know, the day before, 3 days before, we're not like running around with our chicken, like a chicken with our head cut off. So I just want to say, by the way, it's like 3:30 in the morning here in Israel. So if words aren't working so good, I apologize. I think I'll be able to course correct, but anyways. But yes, the point is you want to set up their backpacks early so that they're good. They're ready to go. You're not thinking about it. One of the things you might also want to do for the littles is put in a spare change of clothes that is already labeled. Like get the list early, label what you need to label, and let's get everything into their backpacks and set it up. Even if you set it up now, it would still be worth it because it's like one less thing you have to think of, okay? So early and often is key already. We already talked about this when we're talking about setting up the closets and decluttering in the closet. And we're talking about that now with the school supplies. The earlier you can do these things, the earlier you can get your kids on track, the easier everything's going to be, the less stressful it is. Waiting till the last minute is never fun. It's stressful for you. It's stressful for them. Start to get in the habit of managing time better and figuring out the things that you can do early so that you're not rushing later. Now, I'm not saying to fill up their backpacks with snacks right now. That's not useful. But what you might want to do is start getting snacks that you know that that are great for back to school, for after school, for things they could take for breakfast on their way to school, right? Like granola bars or protein bars, things that they might want to take with them, or snack packs, whatever it is. If you start to see those on sale, you can start to stock up on those and put those away. But that's the key. Again, as you see things that are going to be useful in the very short term, prepare yourself. I'm not saying hoard anything. I'm just saying, as you see things, first of all, buying things a little bit on sale, a little bit in advance, especially when you have more than 3 kids, is helpful because you go through those things really, really fast. So you don't want to, be shopping all the time. And this actually really helps move you forward and manage your time a little bit better. If you can start thinking about how many types of snacks or things like that you also need during the year, you can sort of try to watch for things on sale. One thing that I will say about sales is you have to be very careful to not fall into the trap of, well, it's on sale, so I'm going to buy 1,000, even though I don't know how many my kids will want, right? So like, you don't want to buy 1,000 bags of small chips right now, or 100 bags even right now, because you don't know exactly what the situation will be, especially if you're buying other stuff. So if you want to buy 50 bags of something that you know you're going to use in the first month, that's fine. But remember that things go on sale in cycles. So usually those cycles last around 8 weeks. So buy enough for that time period, 2 months, and then you can buy it again when it's on sale. Because the reason why I don't want you to buy things for 4, 7, 10 months is because then you have to store it for that long. And that can become problematic, especially if you don't have a big home, or good storage in your home, even if you have a big home. And we want to be able to cut back on exactly, what we don't need. We want to be able to locate what we need when we need it. And so by having less stuff, that actually makes it easier. But planning ahead is a good thing. So there's a balance between those two things, okay? The next thing that we want to start doing right now, if anybody has any questions about school supplies, please post in the group. The next thing I want to talk about is getting kids back into their schedules. And then we're going to sort of move in on this and time management. So if you have a problem, if you yourself have a problem with time management, post a 1 in the chat. If your child has a problem, or one of your children or multiple of your children have a problem with time management, post a 2 in the chat. Wow, you guys are time management wizards. Nobody has a time management problem? Nobody's a 1? Excellent. So I'm saying this for the people who are watching on the replay then. Okay. Oh, we got a 2. We got somebody who has a child who has a time management problem. Okay, if you want to elaborate on what exactly that time management problem is, 1 and 2. If you want to elaborate on what your time management issues are, I will try to cover some solutions for those, especially if they're related to kids, but hopefully I'll hit that in the points that I want to say. So even though we're still, for most people here, 2 to 3 weeks out on the start of school, we want to start getting our kids back into a good sleep schedule. This will help with time management in the long run. So figure out what time your kids would go to sleep during the school year. So if it's 8 o'clock, great. Get them to start to go to bed at, like, wind them down at 7:30 or even 7, and then move on to getting them into bed as early as possible, and wake them up at back to school times. So even if camp is starting at 9 and they don't need to be out the door till 8:15, but school starts at 8:15 and you need to be out the door at 7:15, you want to inch them in closer to the time that you want them to wake up for school, because you want to be able to reset their internal clocks so that they're sleeping an appropriate amount of time, but also so they're ready at the right amount of time so that they can, move forward and not hold you back in the mornings. By conditioning them for sleep now. It's going to be easier to jump into that when school gets back on track. Again, the same principle applies. We want to start these processes early on. First of all, there's less fighting, but also it sets these good habits in place, which is really, really an important thing for them. We want to give our kids good habits. Okay, so Asi says, getting to school on time, getting ready, getting to bed at night. Okay, so Asi, I don't know how old children are. Can we just make sure that everybody's muted, please? You posted 7, 5, 3, and 5 months. Okay, so what is going to be imperative for you to do at this stage, and this is useful for everybody on the call, is set an evening schedule, an evening routine. So at 6:30 we eat dinner. At 6:45 or at 7 o'clock, we all work together to clean up, and then we prepare our lunches, and then we take a bath and brush our teeth and put our pajamas on, and don't skimp on the steps, on listing the steps, especially with little kids. I mean, kids under 10, it's super important to list each stage of what's happening, because then they can see the progression from task to task. So first of all, do not let your kids skip out on helping you. Even if they are little, even if they are 5 or 3, you can hand them a dish towel and say, please dry this fork and put it in the drawer, right? They can do that. Is it going to be perfect? No. But are you conditioning them to be good helpers later on and to be good adults? 100%. If you initiate your kids into tasks that are home tasks now, and if you initiate them into time management ideals now, then you will have an easier time with them moving forward. But also, as they get older, their lives will be easier because they have an understanding of how long tasks take and how to do tasks and how to participate and like how to adult. Okay, so they don't have to do everything. You know, we're not talking about, you know, making them be the be all and do all end all, right? We want them to participate so that we can teach them how to be good adults. So for a 3-year-old, that might mean that you say, these pieces of silverware are wet, please take a towel, let's dry them and put them in the drawer. Or maybe you just tell them to where they go in the drawer. Okay, for a 5-year-old, maybe you start with the drying. For a 7-year-old, they can, you know, also wipe down the table. We need the kids to participate and understand how they fall into the routines, because first of all, it makes the routines faster in the long run. It makes things easier for you, because how many of you at the end of the day, when you're putting your little kids to sleep, you like fall asleep in bed with them? That used to happen to me all the time. I used to just fall asleep with my kids all the time because I was doing all the work. But the kids can also do some of the work. And first of all, also making sure that they do some of the work makes less entitled adults, which is the goal, right? We don't want our kids to feel totally entitled. We want them to be hardworking and to have an understanding of how to participate in the world. So by initiating them now, by getting them to help you now with age-appropriate tasks, then even if the task takes you a little longer while you're teaching them how to do it, that's okay. If you're starting early, you'll have time and you won't get stressed out. So start now, get them initiated in the nighttime routine, and then move them forward. And it's like I said, in the evening, you want to do the same thing for the morning. Make a routine. What are the things that have to happen in the morning for you to get out the door on time, right? And work backwards from the time you need to get out of the door. So if you need to be in the car by 8:15, you really should have everybody in the car belted up by 8:10, right? That should be the goal. So work backwards from 8:10. At 8:05, everybody needs to be heading out the door, and you need to be, you know, locking the door and getting into the car. At 8 o'clock, everybody needs to have their backpacks in hand with their lunch boxes in their backpacks and anything that they need for the day in the backpack, and you know, they're moving towards the door. Their coats are coming on if they have coats, or whatever other supplies that they need. One way to reduce the stress of the morning lunch and backpack is to pack lunch the night before, and all you have to do is move it from the refrigerator into the backpack. And also to pack the backpack the night before. That's part of the nighttime routine. You set up yourself for success in the morning. You lay out your clothes, you fill your backpack, even filling the water bottles and leaving them in the fridge. Now, I know most of them are insulated so it won't stay cold, but you know, they're ready to go. They're next to the lunch boxes. All you have to do is grab them, right? So the point is to set yourself up for success. Prepare early. Make, again, the same principle of letting your kids understand what the course of action is. You know, first we do this, second we do this, third we do this, and finally we do that, right? When they understand the series of events that are happening, it makes it much easier to move forward because they see it. You've said it to them. It's clear. You know, you've set the expectations. When you set the expectations with your kids, no matter what the scenario is, it makes it easier to cope with the situation. And the same thing is true, like even with clothes shopping, right? If you say, listen, we went through the closet, we've determined that these are the things that we need when we go to the store, we're only going to buy these things. That makes it easier for them to accept the reality that this is what's going to happen. Don't ask me for lots of extra stuff. We're going to stick to the list because we have a list. And that teaches them discipline. It teaches them how to set expectations. It teaches them how to organize themselves. And it's a worthwhile skill that we really need to develop in our kids. Some people are just naturally organized, right? But even the people who are naturally organized need to set themselves up for success, and you can always grow that muscle. You can make it stronger. So the same for kids. The kids, even they might be naturally organized, they might be naturally disorganized. It doesn't matter what they are. You can strengthen their organization muscle simply by being clear about your expectations and starting to set habits for them where they're learning to do things early, where they're setting schedules for themselves, where they're setting limits for themselves. That helps them be organized. I wish it was as easy as just do it. I'm struggling to keep to the expectations. Okay, so I'm not saying do it. I'm saying you get to set the expectations. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you need to buy your kids new clothes, if they need 3 shirts and 4 pairs of pants and a pair of sneakers, then when you go to the store, only buy that. That sets the expectation. These are the things that we can buy. It's not about money. It's not about waste. It's not about anything. It's about teaching your kids to set goals and to reach those goals. You don't need to overdo it. Overdoing it isn't helpful either. This helps them set the expectations. It helps you set the expectations. When you are clear with your kids, you're being kind to them. So the more clear you can be, the easier everything is going to be. So if you say to them, for example, the nighttime routine is get ready for bed, clear the table from dinner, put everything away, set up your backpack, and then get ready for bed. That's not clear enough because get ready for bed is very vague. Getting ready for bed involves lots of steps. It involves a bath, hanging up your towel after the bath, brushing your teeth, putting your pajamas on. Maybe it is laying out your clothes for tomorrow, saying Shema, getting into bed, turning off the lights, right? There's lots of steps involved. That's like 10 steps that I just listed. Going to bed has 10 steps. If you say go to bed, that is too vague for kids to manage. They can't get to that. So what you really want to do is be as specific as possible. It's not, I wish it was just easy to just do it. No, it's not easy. Just do it is not the solution here. The solution is be clear about what the expectations are and be detailed about it. Now, what you say to the kids is like, you don't want to say to a 3-year-old 10 things to do. That's too overwhelming for them. But if you list out the 10 things as part of the go to bed category, so for example, a header and then bullet points, that is, as they get older, they'll be able to internalize that much better because it's easier for them to see it like this is the grouping of go to bed, right? What's the grouping of get your lunch ready for tomorrow? Well, the grouping could be First you pull out all the ingredients. First you decide what you're going to make. Then you pull out all the ingredients. Then you put together all the ingredients. Then you pack them in the lunch bag, and then you clean up any utensils, and you put the lunch bag in the fridge, right? That's 6 steps that you need to take. When you clearly outline those steps for kids, it makes it much easier for them to actually go through the steps. You don't have to tell them all the steps at once. But if you say, okay, there's 6 steps to this process. Step 1 is this. You do step 1. Then you look at the list and say, okay, now it's step 2. It creates clear hierarchy of what's happening for kids, and it makes it easier. And over time, over 2 weeks even, they can internalize those action steps and make it easier. And by the way, this is true for adults too. I do this all the time. If I have to, you know, I don't know, make lunch, for example, I'm thinking about all the steps that are going through in the process. Eventually it will become more rote and I won't have to think about all those steps necessarily, but in the short term, I definitely am thinking about it. And I until I internalize it as a habit, I need to reference back to the list. And if I'm doing a new task, let's say I need to buy, you know, a piece of furniture for my house. I know that I need to measure the door frames, measure the area of the furniture, research the furniture that will fit in that size, figure out how I'm going to get to the store, when I'm going to get to the store, and pace myself in the grand timeline of if I need this piece of furniture by a certain time, that I have to do all these previous things by a certain time so that I can expect delivery, right? I've worked backwards from when I need the item so that I can figure out all the previous steps. Same thing. Even if it seems silly to list inconsequential steps, it's still worthwhile. It seems silly to say, put the lunchbox in the refrigerator, but it's a necessary step for a child, and it helps you internalize all the steps and understand how long a task will take. I just want to say this about time management, is that most people don't understand how long tasks take. And because of that, they don't schedule enough time to do the task, and they don't schedule enough buffer time in between tasks. So it's really important. You can time yourself the first couple of nights. How long do all these steps take me so that I can actually make a plan that we can implement? And it seems silly because you're like, well, I'm an adult. I should know these things. But if you don't know these things, that's fine. We don't know how long new tasks take, especially if we're inviting the kids to do things with us. Sometimes it takes longer when the kids are helping us. At first, over time, it'll be faster. So you want to be able to do that for yourself so that you can teach your kids good time management. Okay, so we talked about clear out your kids' closet. We talked about getting their school supplies ready. We talked about getting them back into their schedules. And we sort of talked about these two headings as well, which are make them do things with you and help them wind down, right? Because that comes into the time management aspect of starting to reinitiate new habits early so that you have time to make them habits, because it takes time to develop habits. Actually, most people say it takes 30 days, but you can start to really get into good habits after 2 weeks. We talked about empowering our children to be able to do these tasks by themselves later on. But the only way to do that is to list out the tasks for them so that they understand the process and the order of operations. We talked about creating routines for them, and we talked about working backwards so we could figure out exactly how we could make this fit into the schedule. I want to open the floor up and see if anybody has any specific questions, which I'm happy to answer, so that we can move you forward as we head back to school. Any questions here? Okay. If you struggle with time management, organization, decluttering, any of those things, I run a decluttering group. It's called the Journey to Organization. And within the Journey to Organizations, we run sessions called Tidy Together sessions. Right now I'm running a sale where each session is $10, but in honor of my 10th anniversary of making Aliyah, which is happening next week. And during these sessions, even though they're group sessions, we work on decluttering and setting up these sort of lists and expectations so that you can create good habits. So if you're interested in having some guidance, Marcy is our community manager and she is here on the call. You can email her at marcy@balaganbegone.com, or you can email me, Rebekah@balaganbegone.com, and ask us any questions about the talk from tonight or anything about the future. But the reason why these groups work is because together a group of people are working to situate a common goal, but also because you have expert guidance from me walking you through exactly what to do. So if you're stuck on how to set up your schedule, we will walk through and get your schedule done. If you're stuck on how to declutter their clothes, which was the very first thing I talked about and which is really essential to get done now before school starts, then let me know. We can work on that too. We can work on all manner of things organizational, and what it will really do is move you forward in a very, very big way. Okay. Are there really no questions? Amazing. I love that.
I have a
I'm really
question.
happy to answer any questions. Okay, wait, someone's unmuting themselves. Go ahead.
I have a question. I have
Sure.
sometimes I get so tired of telling the kids to do the same thing at night. I just tell them, just go to sleep. I'll take care of it on my own. How do I
Okay,
work through
I'm
that?
sorry, it's very difficult to hear you. Would you mind saying that one more time a little bit louder?
I sometimes get so frustrated telling them the same thing over and over again. I just say at night, just go to sleep. I'll do it on my own. How do I work
No.
through
Okay.
that?
Okay, so definitely don't do that. So again, if you let your kids off the hook, they will not know how to do things as a grown-up. So don't let your kids off the hook. Okay. How do you get the kids to listen? Well, I'm not a parenting expert, but when you work with your kids, I have found, and I do this myself, I declutter with my kids. My daughter doesn't really need me to declutter with her anymore, but once in a while, she likes it when I help her. If she's feeling stuck on something, I do declutter, but my boys still do like it when I help them. So the key is to show up for your kids. Show up for your kids and do the task with them. Like at first, like I said, they're not gonna do it great. That's okay. Be happy with good enough. Over time, it will improve. But I think the really, really important thing to know here is not, how I can get them to do it perfectly. It's how to initiate them into the service at all. So Eleonora, what you really want to focus on here is getting them involved with you, but setting the expectations up very, very clearly. Again, listing what needs to be done and doing it with them is what is going to make you move them forward. When you are clear, you are being kind. When you let them know what's happening, it makes it easier for them to move forward. If you're having trouble getting your kids to listen to you, then either set up a reward or a consequence system. But if you make it into, we are working on this together, and then afterwards, when we do the things we need to do first, then we can do the things we want to do. So if you guys help me, let's say clear the table and make lunches for tomorrow, and then clean up from the lunches, then we are going to have 40 minutes to sit down and read as many books as you want, right? If you aren't willing to put in the time with your kids, or you can't put in the time with your kids, then some other grown-up has to do it, especially if your kids are under 10, because they need you to walk them through the steps. Does that make sense, Eleonora?
Yes, patience is the key.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sounds great, but I can't get the kids to listen, Ossie says. But the truth is that if your expectation was that you don't expect them to listen, then why would it be any different? The point is to actually, set the expectation of, I'm listening to you, you listen to me. When you show them that, like, this is not, it's quid pro quo, right? You do this, I do this, and together we can reach our goals better. It makes it easier for them to move forward. So just to recap tonight, clear out your kids' clothes, make a list of the things that you need for both clothing, for school, and for Yom Tov. plus school supplies. Situate everything that you can now, early on and often, so that it's ready to go and you're not, you know, functioning at the last minute all the time, because functioning at the last minute is just not fun. Get your kids back into schedules now. Work backwards from the date that you need to have, like work backwards from the end date so that you can, you know, figure out the timeline and the order of operations, and focus on doing the tasks with them until you feel comfortable making sure, or until you feel comfortable with the level that they're able to execute things on their own. And once they are able to execute them on their own, you can mirror them. You know, you can do a task alongside them, but you don't want to do it for them anymore. Doing it alongside them is really helpful. That's like what we do in the groups. I'm not necessarily doing it for you or even walking you through the order of operations after a time, but I'm there. I'm there if you need support. I'm there if you fall off course. That's what your kids need. They need the supervision. They need the support. They need the understanding, because if they fall off course, they don't know how to course correct. And that's your job, is to help them course correct. To help set them up for success, you need to manage the expectations, manage the timeline, and then when things go wrong, to shift them into the way that they can do things. I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. What's the best way? Well, the best way is to join a group. That's really how we can get you started. And that's really the best way to get started. But the one other thing that's really important is to understand what you want to get done, right? Do a brain dump, figure out all the things that need to get done. And then if you know what you need to get done, it's easier to be motivated to move it into the schedule and figure out how to actually execute it. Okay, it's 4 o'clock in the morning here in Israel, so I'm gonna head back to bed.
Rebecca, thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you.
And thank you to
Thank you,
everyone who came as well, who joined us. Thank you.
And thank you to Iris for setting this up tonight. I really appreciate Iris and Efrat. And I'm looking forward to doing these great collaborations in the future. And if I can help anybody in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and even if you're watching this on the replay. Thank you so much to Maddie and Iris at Efrat. And I'm wishing everybody happy, healthy back to school.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.